consumer has always been ready for more organized retail. He doesn't know the difference between foreign retail or Indian retail. He just wants a great place to shop and better range and over time good prices. I think the real point is this sector needs more money, huge amounts of money with the time horizon which is long term, because this is not a business that can churn out returns in the short term. And money, as far as I'm concerned, has no color. Let it come from wherever it comes. The real debate, I think, that's happening under the guise of FDI is around employment, or concern that people have about retail employment, which is such a huge part. And in a country where social inequity could be one of the biggest risks, I can understand where the government is coming from. It is a huge area of concern. The question that I think one needs to really think about it is the solution in the space of should the big global retailers be allowed in or not? Or is the solution in the space of what form of retailing do you allow and what form of retailing do you say is not allowed? For example, China for the longest time did not allow huge entry of big retailers, small or large, into the supermarket format, which is where they thought the largest amount of current employment was concentrated. So to me, I actually think the FDI debate is the wrong debate, because you already have large players in the industry. They happen to be Indian. To me, the real debate is how do you want to shape the growth of retailing in a manner that we're not losing jobs at a time where we need more jobs for a young country. So from a consumer point of view, huge demand, huge investment requirement. The investment should come from anywhere and everywhere. We need all of it.
In our limited experience, the people who are actually gaining the most out of this format is actually the small retailer. Because what they love about our format is transparency of pricing, availability, convenience of shopping under one roof, some help with understanding issues which they are not able to understand, like tax structures and so on, seeing new products, getting some training on food hygiene and stuff like that. So I think what I call modern wholesale is a key component of helping. And I'm really actually thankful that our government chose from day one to say that there needs to be some investment in this area to be able to allow FDI in retailing. And I think on its own, this format over a period of time can develop into a powerful wholesale format, helping the mom and pop stores in most of the country to prosper, grow, and better compete with the larger retailers. Coming back to, however, the core issue of FDI in retailing, I mean, my own view is that, look, let's start with what is best for the country, and then we worry about FDI in retailing. And we've heard, all our big leaders, including our Prime Minister, several times talk about inclusive growth. We all this morning talked about 8.5%, 9% growth. Unfortunately, as we also heard from the presentation, a lot of that is concentrated in 7 cities. I mean, is that the kind of country we want to build in the future? Or do we want to build a country where everybody is participating in its growth? Now, I'm not saying FDI and retailing will change on that, okay? But it is one of the enablers to do that. And why do I say that? Let's start with the farmer, which is 60% of India's, or 65% of India's population. They have no understanding of their customers. How can you do a business when you have no understanding of your end customer? That's the basic. Through organized retail, that can become much better. Kishorji just said that, look, to be successful in retailing, you've got to save money before you can give better prices to your customers. Well, if you have to save money, you have to improve farm yields. Then you have to work with the farmers who are marginal farmers, where companies, where our government is unable to do so. But large retailers, multinational retailers or domestic retailers, do have the financial and managerial capacity to do that. I mean, we talked about financial help, but what about managerial help? What about technology? I mean, there is an inherent process, training, technology in retail. Today, our scarce capital in this country is being wasted in experimentation when it doesn't have to be wasted in experimentation in retail. Because we can get that technology very easily if we were to allow FDI in retailing. What about jobs? I mean, we all talked about the youth of India. We all talked about the fact that everybody wants a job. And Nagesh just said that, look, now you can barely attract a 10th standard, young kid to this industry. Well, this industry is like that. 95% of the people who work in the retail industry are young kids. What about those? I mean, if you don't allow that kind of investment, then, who's going to create the jobs for them? And the small and medium manufacturers we already touched upon. So I think all the constituents, in my view, would gain out of a decision to open FDI in retailing.
First of all, let's go back to the question that you asked, the 6 million, will it be reality? It will be as real as what happened 5 years back in this forum when we said that by 2010 this will be 20% modern retail. And today ireena said we are 6%. So I trust McKinsey on that, so 6-7%. So I think most of the times we're just taking some numbers, multiplying. She has some wonderful slides, 300 into 1000 into 1. Okay, so we'll do that and come with numbers. That's one. Second is, I want to actually start an anecdote from the first 2 employees that I employed in retail in 1991. And yesterday I was with an HR professional, very senior person, and he asked me saying, what do you look in the person? Okay? So I told her when I appointed the first 2 people, the only thing I knew about retail was, if she or he smiles for 20 minutes, okay, we will appoint her. And actually the first 2 people appointed was people who smiled. If you ask me today, if I am on a panel, if somebody can charm, if somebody can smile, and somebody can show that she or he is happy, I think you can appoint them in retail. Now the big question I'm asking is that if as a retailer you have to get people, what are the things that will make them happy? I mean, he starts from Vasai in Mumbai at 6:30, 7:30 in the morning, comes at 10 o'clock, works up to 8 o'clock, goes back at 11 o'clock. I think we have to really say, how can we make people happy? Now when it comes to government, they are saying if FDI comes in, employment will go away. So for a moment, let us say we don't want FDI. And go back to the government and say, okay, please tell me what are the 10 things or 2 things you are willing to do to make the current people, we are talking about 12 million retailers, multiply by 2.5, 25, 30 million people working in retail. Please tell me one initiative that you have taken in the last 50 years or the last 1 year which is going towards making the retail employee in the current happy. None. Zero. So I think there is a huge issue. It's all just been done politically, and all of us, like I and ireena were talking, are all talking logic. Okay, the politics and the logics are not matching. Okay, so if you ask me, yes, there is a huge potential. I believe with capital coming in, you require risk capital and long-term capital. Each one of us will develop talent within our means, and this talent will then not be owned only by us. Because fortunately, the retail industry is all together. I mean, we are a very beautiful industry which we share today, which in many places competitors don't sit on the forums together like this. But we are able to share. So as we get more and more talent in each of our businesses, we get the Walmarts of the world, I think more talent will come, we'll grow the talent, which is going to help the industry. The second is that at the end of the day, if you look at the talent within the so-called non-modern retail or the unorganized retail, they're not growing. At the rate that we are going, you'll actually find that many of the shopkeepers, and I've repeated this again and again, are not going to grow because the children are not coming back into the industry. We need to say that this is a fantastic industry to grow. You can do a business in retail and make more money. In fact, a single store makes more money than the chain of stores. And there are enough stores in this country who make more money than many of us put together. So I think we have to really encourage the fact that bring in capital, expand the industry, allow retail to grow, and then take it on.
What are your views on this?
I have always said FDI should be allowed, FII should be allowed, Banya should be allowed, everybody who's got money should be allowed to come and give money into retail. The basic question is that, like she said, green, the color is what is probably distinguishing. I mean, here is an opportunity to put in money into a long-term return. I mean, today you get an FMP which can commit a 12 to 15% return over 10 years period. This is an FMP. Yeah? I mean, retail is a business where you put money, you'll get returns over the 10 years, as long as you believe in that business. So, honestly, if you ask me, FIs are there wanting to come in. Sometimes they get a restriction that you can't get into the primary market. Sometimes you have a restriction that you can't have more than 24%. So, I don't know why there is something around retail and the blocks. The north block and the south block, which we need to sort out. Okay, and I think all of us are wearing too much of ties and suits and we are not able to get into the blocks. So we are also getting blocked. So if these blocks get opened up, maybe things will happen. Honestly, we have no clue. I mean, as part of RAI, as part of CII, I think we have met Planning Commission, we met everybody who's really the authority. Nobody is telling us exactly what is the problem. Because I know of presentations where they say, don't make the presentation, we are all sold on this. So everybody is sold on this because nobody wants to buy. What kind of retailers are we?